A Hall of Fame player and coach, Bill Russell, has passed away at 88. He led the Celtics to 11 NBA championships as a 12-time All-Star. He was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1975 as a player and again in 2021 as a coach. He was a 2011 Presidential Medal of Freedom honoree. And of course, he's been part of all the NBA's greatest list, including last year's 75th anniversary team. Welcome back into our NBA TV studios. I'm Kristen Ledlow, he's Dennis Scott, and over the next hour, we're going to be remembering the life and legacy of Mr. Russell. First, our Matt Weiner with more.
Bill Russell, the backbone of the world champion Boston Celtics, winner for the second straight season of the Most Valuable Player Award, a clutch performer if ever one lived. He's the brightest star in the NBA.
William Felton Russell was a monumental figure in the history of the NBA. One of the greatest players ever, he blazed trails and broke barriers. Yet for all his accolades, one aspect of his transcendent career stands out. He has more titles to his credit than any other player in NBA history.
Russell is the greatest winner of all time, the most valuable player of all time, and no one can equal his record of 11 championships in 13 years.
Russell grew up in Monroe, Louisiana, before his family moved west to Oakland, California. He was told early that when challenged, he should never back down.
When we first moved into the projects, and these 4 kids ran by, and one of them slapped me as he was going by. I went upstairs and told my mother, and we went all through the projects looking for those guys. When you're gonna fight every one of them one at a time. It was 5 of them. I lost 3 and won 2. And so I go home, crying, and she says, "Don't cry. You did what you had to do."
As a teenager in Oakland, he would blossom into a star at McClymonds High School and go on to play close to home at the University of San Francisco. His defensive abilities were unprecedented.
And there's a fight for the rebound. Taft recovers and he can move. Russell blocks his shot, and the Dons are showing their power.
Russell led his school to back-to-back NCAA titles and would cap off his amateur career by winning Olympic gold in Melbourne in 1956. Heading into the NBA draft that year, Red Auerbach of the Boston Celtics understood that Russell could transform his team. Auerbach engineered a trade dealing popular all-star Ed Macauley and talented rookie Cliff Hagan to St. Louis, clearing the way for the Celtics to sign Russell. And just as he had done in college, Bill Russell redefined the game defensively.
I remember thinking to myself, well, we not only got ourselves a rebounder, but it looks to me like he was such a great athlete for his size and such quickness. I said, I think we're getting a little bit more than we bargained for in Bill Russell.
Kuzi waiting for his man, bounce pass to Russell. Basket is good and he's fouled.
He can rebound, he can run, he can play defense. He made everybody around him better. It was the ultimate piece of the puzzle.
Just months after Russell joined the team, the Celtics were champions.
The all-around play of the Celtics is too much for the Hawks to overcome. Boston downs St. Louis to win the NBA's World Series for the first time and become the professional basketball champions.
Russell would soon be joined in the league by another dominant force, Wilt Chamberlain.
The winning is only important if you beat the best. My friend Wilt Norman Chamberlain was far and away the best player I've ever played against.
Throughout the 1960s, their rivalry would become a centerpiece of the NBA game and captivate audiences. Over the years, it also became one of mutual respect. Wilt's statistics were astounding, but Russell kept collecting championships.
After he got in the league, folks were trying to compare us. I decided that I will never change the way I play for the Celtics.
Starting in 1959, Russell would lead the Celtics on a still unmatched run in American team sports, 8 consecutive league titles.
Bill Russell, 30 points and 40 rebounds.
Russell used to become physically ill before every ball game.
I mean, that's how much each particular game meant to him.
West all alone. Look at Russell come down. And what a play by Russell!
Was it important to dominate? Yes. It was important to dominate because one thing that you want to do to your opponents is to make them think, make them know they can't win. We shut a guy down or block a guy's shot and say, yes, we did that to you. And if you come back, we'll do it again.
That's it. It's all over. It's all over.
Everybody in the place is yelling and screaming. They deserve it, John. They're the greatest basketball team that was ever assembled.
But even as they dominated throughout the 1960s, Russell and his teammates also had to battle the degradations of racism. One such instance took place before a preseason game against the St. Louis Hawks, scheduled to be played in Lexington, Kentucky.
Casey went down to the restaurant in the hotel we were staying, and they would not serve him. We decided we were going to play.
Russell helped lead a boycott of African-American players from both teams. Russell's sense of justice extended beyond the world of basketball. He also sought to make a difference in society at large. After civil rights leader Medgar Evers was murdered, Russell flew to Jackson, Mississippi to help oversee the integration of youth basketball games.
Well, do you think that you will get some white kids to play basketball with Negro kids?
I think so. I don't see why not. My kids play with white kids, and nobody got hurt yet.
When heavyweight champion Muhammad Ali refused to fight in Vietnam because of his religious beliefs, Russell joined America's finest African-American athletes to support him.
When we had the summit in Cleveland to see how Muhammad Ali felt about going into the Army, Bill was right there, and with no fear.
There's so many things that he contributed by how he lived his life, how he dealt with his success, and the pride that he had. You know, we needed examples of people with pride.
Jackie Robinson was a hero to all of us. But my attitude was that Jackie took us from point A to point B. I was not going to revisit point A. I was going to start at point B.
By 1966, the Celtics had established themselves as a dynasty. As the legendary Auerbach stepped down, Russell was on the verge of making even more history. With his hiring as Celtics head coach, Bill Russell broke through a long-standing barrier and had to face his share of doubters.
As the first Negro coach of a major league sport, can you do the job impartially without any racial prejudice in reverse?
Yes.
How?
Because the most important factor is respect. And basketball respects a man for his ability, period.
Russell would grow into his role as player-coach. After a playoff loss, the Celtics recaptured the crown in 1968. The following season, the Celtics were an aging team and found themselves fighting again for an NBA title, but this time as underdogs against a powerful Los Angeles Lakers team that had just added Chamberlain to its roster. It was only fitting that for these two longtime foes, the series would go the distance.
I can't help but wonder, how do you feel about going into another seventh game, this time on somebody else's floor?
We've done it before.
We get back out. For the last game, Jack Kent Cooke was the owner of the Lakers. He put out a sheet in all the seats. When the Lakers win the championship, the balloons in the rafters would fall down, and Chick Hearns would interview Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Wilt Chamberlain in that particular order. Well, I took this back to Russell.
Sam showed me that, and I said, well, a couple of things. It is humanly impossible for the Lakers to win the game tonight. The Lakers can't beat us. But it's going to be fun to watch them get those balloons out one at a time.
Naturally, Russell walked away from his final game a winner.
Chris, I'm here with Bill Russell. Bill, this must have been a great win for you.
Exactly.
I know it's hard to say what's in your mind right now, Bill, and it must have been a great win.
Well, this is such a great bunch of guys, you know, and it's just been so fabulous the way they played for me. And it sounds all corny, you know, to start talking like that, but I told these guys before the game, I don't care what happens, I wouldn't trade you guys for any guys in the world.
Bill Russell was a champion on the court, a powerful voice for equality, and a heroic example for all who followed.
A few young people here that would like to be president of the United States. You can do anything that you want to do, if you want to do it bad enough. Thank you very much.
Bill Russell, the man, is someone who stood up for the rights and dignity of all men. He marched with King. He stood by Ali and made possible the success of so many who would follow.
For the game's ultimate winner, Russell's legacy lives on through the NBA Finals MVP award, which bears his name.
I've never wanted to live my life to get accolades or honors or anything. I've tried to live my life doing what I think is right and for the right reasons. And I think that I did okay.
This statement from Commissioner Adam Silver: "I cherished my friendship with Bill and was thrilled when he received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I often called him basketball's Babe Ruth for how he transcended time. Bill was the ultimate winner and consummate teammate, and his influence on the NBA will be felt forever. We send our deepest condolences to his wife, Janine, his family, and his many friends." Stay with us.
Big Bill Russell, number 6, the red-hot Boston Celtics look almost unbeatable as they take aim on another title.
What a block by Bill Russell on Chamberlain's dunk shot.
Bill Russell scoring at will and dominating the board. Bill Russell jumped for joy and the Celtics dynasty was born.
As the 60s came to a close, Russell and the Celtics had won an astounding 11 championships in 13 years.
Bill, this must have been a great win for you.
As we continue to remember all that Bill Russell meant to the game of basketball on and off the floor, here's just a little bit of what he did on it.
Yeah, those numbers don't lie. Consistency, year after year. And then you go in and coach your first year, you win again.
A couple times.
More rings than fingers, like you said. I like that.
And he has been, of course, a part of all of the NBA's greatest lists, and last year's 75th anniversary team was no exception. Here's more.
Bill Russell is the greatest winner in American sports, claiming an unmatched 11 NBA championships in 13 seasons. He revolutionized the game with his mastery of defense as the anchor of the Boston Celtics dynasty.
You know, you could ask former players who were the greatest player in the history of the game, and in my personal opinion, it's Bill Russell. I think he's the greatest. Even today, you look at all the wonderful players that are there. If I started my team today with guys in their prime, I'd still start with Bill Russell.
We're in the playoffs against the Celtics, and we went up 2-1. And you know, we thought we had a chance to upset, you know, the champions. In one game, I got 44 points, and Russ came to me after the game and told me, don't you ever come into my area again. I'm gonna block every shot that you put up. I mean, and I listened to him. So I took jump shots instead of trying to drive to the basket.
There's one thing that I'll never forget about Bill Russell. What a competitor he was. It's Game 5, 1967, 66, 67. We beat them for the championship. We're up approximately 20 points with a matter of seconds, 5 or 6 seconds left in the game. And Luke Jackson was going down for a layup. And I still can see Bill Russell chasing him down to try and block the shot. And I went, you know, This is why this man is so unbelievable as a player. The scoreboard had to be wrong because I don't lose.
There's one picture of him that I've always said he had this kind of regal look about himself when he put his hands on his hip. He's standing at midcourt, somebody shooting a free throw, and I still have a picture of this, him standing and kind of leaning on one leg, and I said, oh my gosh, the king is looking over his fiefdom, okay?
Senior writer Sean Powell, there's only one way to describe Bill Russell, the ultimate champion.
The winner, 11 championships. What really stood out to me about his career is that he was undefeated in Game 7s. Now, he played 10 of them. He didn't lose. 5 of those Game 7s came during the NBA Finals. Imagine that. In 1962 against the Lakers, that game went in overtime. Bill Russell, 30 points, 44 rebounds, played every minute of the game. I think when you look at that game and that stat, that basically tells you all you need to know about Bill Russell and his impact on the game.
And so many great players, most of the great players in the history of basketball, we focus on their offensive end. Bill was so unselfish on that side of the basketball.
Well, he was the rare superstar who did things that didn't show up in the box score. When you hear that about players, you're like, oh, well, they're very limited in what they can do. But Bill Russell was a fantastic rebounder, fantastic shot blocker. Well, how many shots did he intimidate? How many times did he bail out his teammates? How many times did he make it possible to trigger that fast break that led to baskets? See, those are the things about Bill Russell that you're just not going to find on a stat sheet.
And beyond that, too, he was a pioneer of the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, back in the 1960s when, there was a lot of unrest, I think Black America needed someone strong, very forceful, who could articulate what was going on in America. And I think Bill Russell basically fit that to a T.
Playing for Bill Russell and being drafted by him was the biggest honor. Honestly, he's the advocate basketball player. So he always would have an opportunity to teach you about life more than basketball. And as a rookie, he said my job was to sit next to him on every plane, every bus ride, and every pregame meal. So I have a million Bill Russell stories because of that. The one story that kind of stands out for me is we were talking about foreign players coming into the league. I was watching him, looking at a script, figuring out what was going on. I'm like, what's that? He's like, oh, some foreign players I'm looking at. I said, Coach, you're telling me there's not a great basketball player in Alabama, that you got to go all the way to Europe to get this guy? And he stopped me, and he said, Kenny, as an African-American, you can never not want inclusion. And I was like, whoa. He took a small basketball moment as a jest and taught me a life moment about inclusion and about life.
And our Kenny Smith joins us on the phone now. Kenny, we were just reminded moments ago that he drafted you. What are some of the ways in which Bill Russell shaped you as a player and as a person?
Well, thanks for having me. On this day, so many emotions because, like you said, I was drafted by, I don't know anyone else could say that. I was drafted by Bill Russell. My first NBA coach was Bill Russell. And as I said in that piece, I sat next to him for 6 months every day. He lived next door to me, and because he came to Sacramento the same time so he lived like down the street. So my job was to either ride with him to practice or ride with him after the games from when we come on the team plane. So I spent so much time with him in those 6 months that it was, unbelievable experience, unbelievable mentorship. And I don't remember one basketball play, honestly. I just remember all of the mentor stories that we had in those moments.
Kenny, knowing you as well as I do, you've been a lucky dude to be around Dean Smith, being coached in college, and now being drafted by Bill Russell. Take us into one of those practices when you're sitting there watching Bill coach you guys and like, wait a minute, this is Bill Russell coaching us. Take us to one of those practices, Kenny.
Again, honestly, I think a lot of people could give you basketball stories. I think, I just heard a couple that you had. I'll give you mentor stories.
Okay.
Things that you wouldn't expect. I think the one thing is, we talked about inclusion. But Dennis, we'd be on the bus. Think of this. And he'd be telling me a story. He's like, yeah, Kenny, back, when I was back in Boston, and I'm talking to Martin, and then we go back to I'm like, Martin who? He's like, oh, Martin Luther King. Like, he's talking about people so Malcolm. He's my first name. Like, I call you. I'm like, hey, when I call you and be like, hey, Dennis, how's your son playing? Like, those are the type of, influences that were in stories were, told to me. Telling me about Martin Luther King on his last day before he died, or the day that he died, was actually a pillow fight. They were having a pillow fight in the hotel room. Like,
wow.
Him knowing things like that, those are the type of things that make you, I remember him more than anything. But on a jestful note, the reason he told me I had to sit next to him, Dennis, I was walking to the back of the bus, and he goes, hey, rookie, you got to sit next to me for the whole year. I'm like, Coach, I want to sit with the fellas in the back.
Right.
Like I don't want to be an outcast. You know what I'm saying? He's like, and he gets up in the middle of the bus. He goes, look at all of these guys. None of them have ever won anything. Look at him. And he's screaming at the bus like this. Said, Kenny, if you want to be a champion, you sit next to me.
Wow.
And so where did I sit, Dennis?
Right next to me.
Right next to him for the whole year. And I heard every cackle, every joke. He never slept on flights. So he talked, and he'd be like, young fella, you got to sleep at night if you're going to sit next to me. And we talked the whole flight, and it was just a great, unique experience, that one of a kind.
And how would you describe the ways in which he as a player revolutionized the game of basketball?
He never talked in personal game. It always was we or they. He never used the word I. Like, oh, I led the league. No, we won. This is how we do things. This is our team. This is like the inclusiveness of all of the words. And I have to be honest, the other person that I do hear talk like that, and I've been around, is Michael Jordan. I've never heard him go, oh, my team, or like, oh, my team, or I'm the face of the team. Or he was like, our team. So the two people that, like, the greatest players that I've ever been around speaks like that, along with Akeem Olajuwon. They always spoke in we, and never in I. So I learned how valuable he thought the 9th, 10th man, 11th man was on the team. And he understood their value, and which Dennis could have probably attest to, because we've been on. We know what Darryl Armstrong meant to you guys to get to the NBA Finals, who didn't even play in the finals. You know what I'm saying, Dennis?
Yep. I know exactly
you know what he meant to that team, and how you even helped Penny get ready, or you get ready, or whatever he might have seen. Even though he didn't play, you understood his value. The world doesn't, but Bill Russell understood the value of every single person, and that, to me, what makes you a champion.
Thank you, Kenny. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks a lot, man. This is that's not a sad day. It's a great celebration. And lastly, I got to, right before it happened, I got to, see he and his wife in Las Vegas. We spent about 4 hours with my family, and literally she's calling me now. So I got to get off the phone.
Please go. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. This from our Hall of Famer Charles Barkley. Bill Russell's passing, not just an NBA loss, it's a world loss. When your actions match your words on important issues, you're a great man, not just a great basketball player. The word hero is tossed around a lot, but today, it's perfect. More from the NBA, as Carmelo Anthony says, a champion who revolutionized the game for all of us. Bill Russell was an inspiration to me in so many ways. May he rest in power. This from Trae Young, rest in peace, legend. And this from Chris Paul, unapologetically himself at all times, the ultimate leader and just happened to be one of the best hoopers ever. Rest in peace, Mr. Russell. You'll be dearly missed. We'll have more, including from our Hall of Famer Reggie Miller, after this break. This from Michael Jordan. Bill Russell was a pioneer as a player, as a champion, as the NBA's first black head coach, and as an activist. He paved the way and set an example for every black player who came into the league after him, including me. The world has lost a legend. My condolences to his family, and may he rest in peace. Earlier this evening, our Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas called us to remember all Bill Russell was as a player and a person. Zeke, how are you today?
I am saddened, like most of our NBA and WNBA brothers and sisters. We lost a giant in the sport, and we lost a giant in society.
We've talked a little bit about that, and we're going to continue over the next several hours, but you just said it, Zeke. It's not just the ways in which he changed the game of basketball and the ways in which every single time we talk about the greatest to have played it, we have to mention his name. It's who he was off the floor in a time that it was not just encouraged, but actively discouraged by anyone who was listening.
I mean, you're so right. You know, I can remember vividly, you know, growing up in the 60s and early 70s. You know, my mom and dad making sure that we rooted for the Boston Celtics because of Bill Russell and what Red Auerbach was standing for during that period of time with the Celtics. And I can remember as clear as day, and I was on my way out to school, and this is when busing was just starting to happen, and they were desegregating the schools or integrating the schools. And there was I was walking out the door, and my mom grabbed me by the collar, as she normally did when she wanted me to pay attention. Grabbed me by the collar and said, "You got to watch this." And I remember a woman coming on from Boston saying that she would never allow her sons or daughters to go to school with. She used the N-word, and she said, my mom said, "This is why we root for Bill Russell and the Boston Celtics, because of what they are going through in the city of Boston, but not only in the city of Boston, but every time they traveled." I mean, you heard stories of, you know, because the Celtics were one of the first teams to start, 5 classified black players in the NBA. And we were fighting those racial classifications and categories that the United States was putting us in. And Russell and Oscar Robertson, sometimes they couldn't stay in the same hotel with their white teammates. And so the things that he stood for, and when he had the mic as a champion, how he expressed himself and how he spoke up for America and how he spoke up for the black community, I don't think we've ever had a champion in sport outside of he and Muhammad Ali, who really stood the test of time in terms of their words and their actions.
Well, Isaiah, I asked you the same question I asked Reggie. Our game's evolved so much, and a lot of three-point shots being taken. Of course, you know I love that. But when in doubt, we're always trying to find rim protection. You mentioned about him being the greatest champion, the greatest winner. How big is that for guys to understand that defense is still number one when you get to championship level?
You, Christian, and I, and Grant and Steve Smith, whenever we're doing the finals, everyone else is talking offense, but we always say defense wins championships. And whether it be the Warriors, whether it be the Celtics, these last finals, they were, top 5 defensive teams. And, Russell as a rim protector, in today's game, he would be a max player, be extremely valuable, but not only as a defender, but then when you talk about as a leader, and you talk about his intellect, you got to remember, 3D, he was the first player coach to be named as a player coach when Auerbach retired. I think it was 66 or 67, and he went on to win the NBA championship as a player and the coach at that time. And I don't know if that's ever been done before. So think about what Russell was doing in the 60s, in a time where we talk about racial division and everything else now today in our society, but he coming up in the 50s and then being a man in the 60s, what he had to face and what he had to go through and still rise above, it's unparalleled.
And give us some perspective, Zeke, on the way that he played the game, how it transcended the game, because we're not going to forget that he had more championship rings than fingers.
He was a cerebral player. I mean, he played with great intelligence, and while he filled the stat sheet from a rebounding and a defensive standpoint, and he could also score when needed, he understood what his team needed to do to win, and he did it from the center position when most of the dominant centers were scorers at that time. So he had a unique way of looking at the game, which gave all of us, players who tried to come along and win championships, we had to deviate and look at different styles and not judge ourselves statistically, but figure out how to win. And from the center position, he dominated the game unlike any other center has ever did in our game. But he did it not with great athleticism, not with great athleticism, but he did it with superior intellect.
Zeke, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Hey, thank you. And again, it's a sad day, and I'm glad you two are on the desk to really talk about Mr. Bill Russell and bring sentiment to what he really meant to not only us in the game of basketball, but also in society.
We're so glad that you took the time to do the same thing. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And this from Magic Johnson. Bill Russell was my idol. I looked up to him on the court and off. His success on the court was undeniable. He was dominant and great, winning 11 NBA championships. Off the court, Bill Russell paved the way for guys like me. We'll be right back. This from Jason Tatum. Thank you for everything. Rest in peace, legend. This afternoon, our Hall of Famer Reggie Miller took the time to thank Mr. Russell, too. Reggie, let's start with, if it's possible, summing up what Bill Russell means to the game of basketball.
Well, look, let's face it, this is a gut blow. And it's not just a gut blow for the basketball community. It is a gut blow for the sporting world. We lost an icon. And look, we can debate all day, who's the greatest player of all time. And, there's a list to be had. And, I would hope that Bill Russell would be on that list. But there is absolutely no denying who the greatest winner to have ever played in our game is. And that's Bill Russell. So, look, we know it's a sad day, but we also have to look at what Bill Russell meant to the world in a whole. And, again, I'm going to celebrate because obviously when, people always want to, focus at times on the sad things when people pass. I want to celebrate what he meant personally for me in my life and to the basketball world. And he was one of those guys, and you two know this, that had that it factor, right? You always wanted to be around them. And that's why in our profession, because we get to go behind the veil ropes, you know, Kristen, 3D, we get to rub shoulders with the legends and the giants. So come All-Star Weekend, anytime I saw Mr. Russell, because it's disrespectful for anyone in my position to call him Bill Russell or Bill. It's Mr. Russell. I was just gravitated towards him, just to be close to him, just to listen to his stories. And that's what I will hold on to, was just being a fly on the wall amongst many, listening to him speak, because he had that it factor that you always wanted to be around.
And Reggie, you talked about him being the best winner in all of basketball, maybe in all of sports. I would agree. Could you imagine as a player what he went through, the circumstances, not being able to eat with teammates, not being able to sleep in the same hotel? Can you imagine what we go through today and how our players and how privileged they are to live and make the money they make? Can you imagine playing what Bill went through?
It's hard to imagine that someone of his stature had to go through, and he's not alone. You know, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Kareem. There's a lot of our iconic figures that we hold up on our own Mount Rushmore in whatever sport that had to go through trials and tribulations. And Bill Russell obviously is one of them. And think about the landscape of the 60s and really what he had to put up with. And, it's funny because we look at, in today's world, in the climate and, how at times there's, race is such a polarizing subject, and Bill Russell and a lot of the men that I mentioned before having, paved the way for us to speak freely, to speak our mind, to take a stance. Bill Russell was doing that with great opposition against a lot of hate and standing up for his brothers and sisters. And that's what makes the story even more incredible. Again, it's a gut punch, but I'm going to celebrate that I have the opportunity to be on TV, to say what I want, because Bill Russell gave me the opportunity to be able to say and feel comfortable in my skin to be able to say what I want.
I want to stay there, Reggie. How do you see yourself and players now as beneficiaries of not just the way that he played, but the way he lived his life as well?
Well, to me, it's how you carry yourself on and off the court. A lot of people want to focus on how people are on the court. To me, how he carried himself as a man off the court. Well, look, the championships, again, the greatest winner ever. And you're right, 3D, probably in any professional sport. But his legacy, in my opinion, is how he carried himself as a man and stood up for others under great opposition when at times it was not the popular thing to do. And Mr. Russell always did things the right way. And for that, I respect him. And again, I'm going to celebrate the times I got the opportunity to hug him and just say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Russell, for everything you have done for the Miller family.
And Reggie, we know our game is celebrated on the offensive end, and you and I being three-point shooters. But isn't it kind of interesting the game still comes back to defense when we get to championships? And he's arguably one of the best defensive players and teammates we've ever heard of.
Think about that, because in today's game, with freedom of movement, we love the three-pointers. It's threes, free throws, and dunks, basically. But once you get to the playoffs, what does everything revert back to? Can you come up and get a stop? And the Boston Celtics and Bill Russell being the anchor always came up with stops. And it's funny because people always like to compare greats and eras. What do you think Oscar Robertson or Jerry West, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy would do in today's game? They would dominate, right? Nothing would have changed. Mr. Russell would have been an unbelievable champion in today's game. Nothing would have, other than him probably wearing Jordans. That would be it. That's it. His shoe wear would have been nice. That's it. That's the only thing that would have been different in his game.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you for remembering with us. Thank you for celebrating with us. We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. Love you guys.
We love you.
Same here, Reg.
And this from Jaylen Brown, rest in peace. Thank you for paving the way and inspiring so many. Today's a sad day, but also a great day to celebrate his legacy and what he stood for. Stay with us. This statement from our Hall of Famer, Charles Barkley. Bill Russell's passing is not just an NBA loss, it's a world loss. When your actions match your words on important issues, you're a great man, not just a great basketball player. The word hero is tossed around a lot, but today, it's perfect. Last season, Bill Russell joined Inside the NBA on TNT to talk about an auction for his career memorabilia. Let's look back.
Speaking of legendary Celtics, Bill Russell, there's this huge auction going on Friday in Boston. Bill Russell is auctioning off hundreds of items. You're talking trophies, you're talking rings, you're talking
cards, man.
Yeah, cards, warm-ups, jerseys. It's going to benefit Mentor, a group he's very close with, and the Boston Celtics United for Social Justice. So that's all happening December 10th.
Wow.
Hunt Auctions doing the honors.
Oh, wow.
So when we had a chance to speak with Bill Russell earlier tonight, and you know he's got a million stories, and he took us way, way, way back for this one.
You know, when I was in junior high school, and my mother had died, so it was my father, my brother, and I. And my father gave me a choice of where I wanted to go to high school. Now, my brother was all city at Oakland Tech. And he said to me at dinner one night, do not tell anybody that you're my brother, because you can't play and ruin my reputation.
And this from our Hall of Famer, Shaquille O'Neal. Thank you for paving the way. You'll be missed, legend. We'll be right back. This from Bernice King. What a trailblazer who transcended sports in influencing our national and global landscape. A champion in many ways that matter. Thank you, sir, and rest in power. We'll be back with more on the life and legacy of Bill Russell. This from President Barack Obama. Today, we lost a giant. As tall as Bill Russell stood, his legacy rises far higher, both as a player and as a person. Perhaps more than anyone else, Bill knew what it took to win and what it took to lead. On the court, he was the greatest champion in basketball history. Off of it, he was a civil rights trailblazer, marching with Dr. King and standing with Muhammad Ali. For decades, Bill endured insults and vandalism, but never let it stop him from speaking up for what's right. I learned so much from the way he played, the way he coached, and the way he lived his life. Michelle and I send our love to Bill's family and everyone who admired him. And what a gift, DZ, to be remembered that way.
Be consistent. Biggest thing I learned from Bill Russell, be consistent.
He's Dennis Scott. I'm Kristen Ledlow. We'll see you soon.